watching LA Muscle TV. Yes, this is the Andrianna show, and I've got something a little bit different for you. Don't look too closely, you might be hypnotised. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, basically, I've got Darren Marks. He is an expert in hypnotherapy and NLP, and he'll be explaining all about that. So I'm really excited to find out a little bit of info, and I hope you are too. Darren, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. And so how are you today? You okay?
I'm very well, thank you, Andrianna.
Thank you for joining us. Pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
That's all right. Now, I wanted to ask you, obviously, you're a specialist in hypnotherapy and NLP.
Yes.
I think most of us know what hypnotherapy is about. What is actually NLP? Explain to us that.
NLP is an acronym for neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
And neuro-linguistic programming is a technique of communication, if you like, which was developed by a couple of American guys, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, in the 70s. And it's based on the work of three very successful therapists. One of them was Milton Erickson, who was perhaps the most well-known hypnotherapist of the last century. And what they wanted to know, what Bandler and Grinder wanted to know, is why these particular therapists were so effective, so successful at what they did. So they studied their work and recognized that there were certain language patterns and things that they said and did which really motivated and inspired people. And that's really where NLP began. That's where it sprang from.
That's really great. So in relation to health and fitness and athletes, etc., do you find a lot of athletes coming to you for hypnotherapy? And if you do, what sort of things do you teach them, and what sort of routines would you teach them to help them with their sport and to maybe overcome fears or insecurities, and etc.? How would you help an athlete?
Well, I do see a lot of people for all kinds of performance-related things, not just with sport, but also with, like singing and drama, performance, that kind of thing. And a lot of public speaking is also quite sort of a common thing. But I suppose the common thread there is performance. And one of the most important things when it comes to performing well, especially in sport, is mental rehearsal. So that's, I suppose, one of the key techniques that a hypnotherapist would use with a sports person. So you imagine things going well, and you're much more likely to achieve that goal. And it's a mistake, actually, lots of people make in all areas of life, is that people end up focusing on what they don't want because they don't want it. And then end up creating more of that thing because they're focusing on it. So, for example, if I said to you, or whatever you do, you mustn't think of a pink elephant. I know that the first thing you'll do is think of the pink elephant. Right. The trick is to choose to focus on what you want, if you can call it a trick, to choose to focus on what you want as opposed to what you don't want. Yeah. In other words, being towards motivated. As opposed to away from motivated, and you're much more likely to achieve that goal. Yeah. So in terms of sport, if you're focusing on the mistake that you made, you always fell off your bobsleigh at this particular point, or you always drop a catch if it comes at you in this way, and that's what you're thinking of, you're much more likely to repeat that mistake. Right. Whereas if you imagine things going well, you're much more likely to achieve that goal. I mean, it's not the full story. Obviously, you have to do the physical training and have those kind of practical foundations as well. Yeah. But that mental rehearsal and believing that you can do it, imagining it going well, is absolutely vital with everything that we do. I mean, we're all born with a natural ability to fantasize very vividly. It's in this world of fantasy that everything that we create comes from. All invention, all design starts in the world of imagination. The great sports people of this world imagine themselves as winners. I mean, if you don't believe that, if you can't see that, you don't even bother training. So part of the process of hypnotherapy, and part of my job as a hypnotherapist, is help people to really reinforce those images, to help them to bring them to earth, if you like.
Yeah. So do you think a lot of the top athletes, I mean, the very best, they're all having forms of hypnotherapy, or more that they're rehearsing that success in their mind?
Well, as soon as you close your eyes and you're imagining yourself somewhere else doing something else, as far as I'm concerned, that's a hypnotic state. Right. The hypnotic state is a natural state of mind. We all drift in and out of it all the time. Obviously, some of us more than others. So, for example, if you've ever read a book or watched a film or seen a play and been so carried away with it, it's almost like you're there, you're a part of it. That's a hypnotic state. Right. Okay. if you've ever been so absorbed in a task of work of some kind that you become oblivious to everything else around you because you're so focused in on that one thing, that again is a hypnotic state. If you've ever driven or walked somewhere, when you get to where you're going, you think, how did I get here? You're off in a daydream somewhere, you know. Although at some level your body is, like if you're driving, it's obviously better that you're watching the road ahead of you, but at some level your body can react automatically whilst you're thinking of something else. So from a sports perspective, that's really helpful. Let's say if you're running the marathon, that you want time to kind of disappear, you know, so so the monotony disappears because you're off in a daydream somewhere and you think, oh, I've run 5 miles, I didn't even realise. So that can be really useful. In other sort of areas of sport, for example, in a runner, again, if, a typical technique for a sprinter would be to imagine the finishing line about 10 metres ahead. So you carry on running full pelt past the finishing line.
Oh, yes. They always say you must carry on. Don't slow down.
Don't slow down. You see the end and you kind of throw your arms back.
Yeah.
Well, if you're imagining the finishing line 10 metres ahead, you keep running full pelt. So we're all drifting in and out of these natural hypnotic states all the time. What I do as a hypnotherapist is help people to enhance that, to really focus in on it and to make it work even better.
Right. Have you had any athletes or anyone in particular that's had a really, really bad problem that's taken you, or taken a lot of work with yourself to rectify? Can you think of any case? Obviously, that you can't specify someone, but is there any case that you've had to really almost get some terrible bad habits out of their mind?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think what's very common with top sports people especially is OCD.
Yeah, just thinking what you're about to say it. Because I was watching for instance, Nadal. He always springs to my mind when you say OCD. He has a set way of doing everything and he does the same thing every single time. I can imagine for a sports person of that calibre, they feel they have to, otherwise if they don't, it's all going to go wrong. Yeah. So is that sort of thing you work with, the OCD thing?
Well, what can happen is, in order for someone to be really good at their sport, they have to do the same thing over and over again.
That's like superstition, isn't it? Almost.
I don't mean like a ritual beforehand.
Right, okay.
Well, I mean, let's say if we took David Beckham as an example, and he does his amazing free kicks and all that kind of thing. The only way he could do an amazing free kick like that is because he stands there practicing free kicks. I don't know how many times, over and over again. You're doing the same thing, and it makes you brilliant at what you're doing. So there might be some other kind of weird little habits which creep in, and most of the time that's just not going to matter. I mean, it's not going to be a problem, but occasionally that sort of thing can be a problem. And I think certainly I've seen a few top sports people who've come to me not because they want to improve their sport, because they've got the OCD thing is spilling out into other areas of their life. So although it's really helpful when you're practicing your bowling or your batting or your kicking or something like that, that's a brilliant trait to have. If it kind of spills over into, I don't know, washing your hands 100 times a day, or checking your door 50 times before you leave the house, or some other strange kind of physical habit, breathing in a particular way, or which seems a bit irritating or something like that, that can end up being a problem for somebody.
Pretty much seen it all, haven't you?
So I mean, the point is that what is a really positive thing in one area of life is can be negative in another area. It's all, as far as I'm concerned, it's all energy. And if we channel our energy in the right way, it can be very powerful and very useful. If it's channeled in the wrong way, it can be very destructive. So it's a choice. It's like our imaginations are energy, like electricity is energy. It's neither good nor bad. It's how you use it that's important.
If someone came to you with, say for instance, an OCD problem, what would be the first sort of steps that you take them through, and how would you then try and, I don't like to say reprogram, but help them to overcome that?
Well, I mean, the first thing I do when I see a client is I start asking them various questions about themselves. I need to get a bit of background to find out, what's going on, or what the problem is or the issue is. And then I need to explain to them what it is that I do and how it works. So I go into quite a lot of detail about what hypnosis is and how it works and this kind of thing, because a client will only be successful if they feel really comfortable with the person they're working with as well as the process itself. So I need to make sure that all kind of fears or concerns are dealt with right at the beginning. And usually with a very first appointment I would finish with a very basic hypnotic session to do with relaxation and just general kind of feel-good, confidence-building, self-esteem kind of things. And then we'd start looking at following sessions, and I'd start looking at perhaps what the underlying cause is.
Yeah.
Now, often with OCD, it could just be a habit that someone's got into, but often people get into those sorts of habits because they're feeling uncomfortable about something.
Yeah.
You know, so there's going to be a negative emotion behind the uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
So my job, rather than trying to deal with the actual habit itself, would be to help people to deal with the underlying negative emotions.
The cause as well as the...
You deal with the cause and then the symptom vanishes. If you try and just deal with the symptom, it's like sticking a plaster on an open wound. Now, having said that, you know, with training, just imagining things going well and doing learning some techniques to bring out the best in yourself, that's really helpful. But if there's an underlying fear that's really stopping people from achieving, then it's really important to resolve the underlying problem.
So do you find that a lot of it, when you think about it, I know it's probably hard to just generalise, but do you think a lot of it actually stems from low self-esteem and insecurities more than anything, like you said, fears? Do you think it mainly stems from sort of low self-esteem, etc.?
Well, I mean, I'd say that across the board, that's underneath it all, that's generally why people come and see me.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's like, say, stopping smoking, underneath the reason that they come to see me for stopping smoking is because at some level they believe that they can't stop. Whereas actually I know that they can, and as soon as they're feeling confident and strong in themselves, which I can help, I can't make someone feel confident and strong, but I can certainly provide a framework which allows people to find that well of strength from within themselves. My job is about empowering people rather than doing something to them, as it were. And once you have that access to that well of strength, then it's easy to stop smoking, it's easy to lose weight, it's easy to remain calm and focused in high pressure situations when you're feeling confident and relaxed.
I think it's important that you state that, because a lot of people, I think, or I have been guilty of that, think hypnotherapy is just about, right, I'm just going to program their brain to stop them doing this.
Yeah.
But it's actually a form of psychotherapy in a way, I suppose.
Well, very
dealing
much
with
so.
The issues.
Very much, and I find it's often faster than some kinds of traditional psychotherapy because it's very much connected to the emotions and the feelings. So if for example, someone's imagining, let's say you're imagining something you find really frightening, and often if someone's really frightened of something, very nervous, whether it's a competition or getting on an aeroplane or whatever it might be, it happens to frighten that individual, you imagine it and people start getting nervous just imagining it. Exactly.
Yeah,
you know that you've done I know I've done my job properly when at the end of a session I ask someone to imagine that thing again and they're feeling really good about it.
So if someone wanted to find you or maybe come to get treatment from you, how would they do that and go about that?
Well, I have a private practice in Wembley, so I'm very close to Wembley Park Tube Station. I see clients there most days of the week,
Okay.
and I also see some clients in a clinic in Hertfordshire. And the other way of sort of accessing my services is I've recently put together a website selling downloads and CDs. So what I've tried to do is to put all of the information that about hypnosis and hypnotherapy and how you can use it personally on this website. So it's a kind of a virtual version of myself with lots of really good techniques for improving sports performance, losing weight, building up your confidence, all this sort of thing. You can download them immediately onto an iPod or buy a CD and use the sessions time and again to help you personally enhance your performance or overcome your personal problems, whatever it is that you want to use them for.
Okay, lovely. And where would we go for that?
So the website itself is www.hypnotherapistdirect.com.
Okay, that's simple enough.
Yeah.
It's been fascinating for me. I love it. I could sit here and talk to you for hours. Darren, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Same here. It's been a pleasure with you too. I'll be seeing you soon.